Hold on to your butts.
Don't move, you're surrounded by armed bastards.
What are we going to do?
Well, I say let's get out there and twat it.
Welcome back to the Cabin Night Podcast. I'm Jake,
I'm James.
And I'm Rob.
and today we are going to be discussing horror icons, for want of a better way of putting it. I'm sure the discussion will take us further beyond and more. But before we get to that, I'd like to invite you to grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and enjoy the discussion. So, horror icons. We're going to be discussing I was going to say Freddie Mercury then. Is he a horror icon?
He's fucking if he came at you at night, you'd be fucking terrified,
He's
wouldn't
an
you?
icon, he's not a horror icon, is he? But yeah, so
I came at you with that going, Mama!
that would be terrifying.
That would be fucking terrifying.
He had big teeth, like Joe's. Is Joe's a horror icon? I suppose it.
I'd argue.
I'd say yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Then. Let's name some horror icons. How far can you stretch the horror icon? The element of the horror film that makes it a horror film.
okay.
So we've got a shark,
A shark, yeah.
the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
I'd not say so much in Jurassic Park, but I'm sure they could.
Like Godzilla and...
Of a fashion, yeah. They got
King Kong.
Yeah.
These have sort of morphed into their own genre these days as monster
Yeah.
films.
But they would become into the same bracket as Dracula, Swamp Thing,
Because they're mythical creatures,
Yeah,
aren't they? Yeah.
Invisible Man. You know, the old school Universal horrors. I'd say they all come under that certainly.
Yeah, Wolfman and...
Wolfman the Mummy and things like that. Yeah, they definitely come into it. Aliens, obviously. You know, I'm not just talking about the Alien franchise, but
No, but aliens in general, yeah.
Aliens in general.
I watched a fantastic film on Shudder called The Something Tapes, the McPherson tapes,
I want to watch that. Yeah, I do want to watch that one.
and it's the aliens actually in it are a bit sort of generic, classic, you know, it's like funny little green men in black suits sort of thing. But the build up, because it was one of the first ever found footage films, and it just seems so natural, the build up to it, and then you sort of quite invested in their fear when they discover aliens have landed on the farm. But yeah, aliens anyway.
And witches, but again, that's kind of the...
Is there a
Folk.
good witch horror film? Does a good witch horror film
The
exist?
Witch
Because
is supposed to be good.
The Witch is...
You've seen it, haven't you?
I've seen it, and The Witch
Or the
is...
Vivitch.
The
The
Vivitch.
Vivitch.
Yeah.
The Witch is absolutely full of atmosphere and whatnot, but it's not in the slightest bit scary.
No.
It's funny, if anything, because there's a goat in it, and they call him Black Phillip because he's black. It's a black coloured goat. And as the film progresses, they sort of put more and more focus on this goat. And in the end, sorry, spoiler alert, in the end,
Do you think I'm going to watch it?
it's not scary, you'll be fine.
Yeah, do you think I'm going to watch it?
In the end, it turns out that Black Phillip is actually Satan.
Even I could see that coming. I've not
I'm
seen the
going
film.
to say...
I've not seen the film, and I can tell
No,
what's
but
coming.
throughout the film, it's just a goat. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally just a goat.
Yeah, but the iconography. But wasn't that? Didn't you watch it not long before we went to Northumberland? And there was this old creepy pub, and there was
Yeah.
a black goat just sat
on a bench.
I was on the bench. Just look. I've got it on my old phone.
Yeah,
a picture of
it's
just
a
a
real
goat
picture,
staring
because
at
its
us.
eyes were really lit up, weren't they? Yeah.
Massive horns as well. Isn't
So goats then.
Goats are part of it, yeah.
Paedophiles.
Yeah, so moving on to real life, yeah.
Fucking hell,
I
that's
mean,
a quick sentence.
Oh, Freddy, that's what he is.
is he though? Depending on
Again.
depending on
Which version, yeah. Because they make it out that in Freddy vs Jason, that's where they really said that it were a paedophile.
Do that. It's been ages since I've seen
Or is it Freddy's dead as well? I think the final Freddy they do.
So now when they did the remake, it was explicitly that he
Yes.
was a paedophile, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, in one of them, he is the son of 1,000 maniacs, so his mum was raped by maniacs, and that's how he was born, and that's why he's like he is.
Didn't know that.
Oh no, I feel like
It
I
says
knew
it
that.
in 3.
I've only seen one and Freddy vs Jason. So
Well, Freddy vs. Jake. One's a horror film. The rest are.
I would say even one's not a horror film.
There's,
One is.
there's one distinct bit that used to shit me up, and that's when he's walking down the alleyway.
With his
Oh,
arms.
the
And his
arms.
And
Yeah,
his
you
arms.
said
I mean,
that.
you can clearly tell that they're like
He's holding on to
He's
two
holding
sticks.
on to
Yeah.
sticks.
But just that bit, like you think you can get past him, and his arms just spread out, and you're like, no.
Yeah, but versus Jason is it's basically an action
It's a
film.
great film.
It's
Actually.
a great,
lot of
great
fun.
film with a great soundtrack.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a good
great
soundtrack.
mid 2000s new metal soundtrack.
Yeah.
Would you say it's the fact that he's in some versions menace to children? What makes him scary, or is it the fact that he's a burnt to a crisp undead
think-
guy that can get you in your
I think
dreams
for me,
with sharp fingers? I just explained him really badly there.
the,
Explain a film badly.
I think it's the
Burnt guy with
fact
sharp fingers.
that you aren't safe.
No matter. Yeah.
Like, because if you
Everyone's got to sleep, right?
yeah, if you woke up at night when you were a kid and you saw something in your room, the first thing you do is try and go back to sleep.
Or cover your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not safe if you do that, because that's where he is.
I mean, I'm gonna put this out there, and you'll say, well, I think it's dubious at first, but here's an explanation. But I do think one of the scariest modern horror words that were overused is the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Because what is more terrifying?
I was going to say Doctor Who.
Because okay, Doctor Who. I don't go too much about Doctor Who because I always talk about Doctor Who. But the weeping angel, a statue that moves when you're not looking at it. So that's terrible. So there's something that's always gonna. So you can never see it attack you. You can never see it actually. And that when that first was created, that was terrifying.
You know what it were about the Weeping Angels that got me is not specifically them, it's how much the Doctor was terrified of them. You could see it was David Tennant.
It was David Tennant episode, yeah.
You could tell just with the way he acted the part, you know. But
that's-
you're safe with the Doctor, aren't you? You're
But
safe.
no, that's the thing. It's like if you watching any film, any horror film, and there's a character that's I'm the braver one, I'm all right, and then they show that moment of weakness. That's when you kind of go, shit, right? These guys really mean business.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I think for a TV show like Doctor Who that isn't supposed to be scary,
Specifically a horror.
No,
isn't
it was never meant to be. I know it's got the reputation now of scaring kids.
to me, the title, it
was.
that.
Again, so I will stop talking about Doctor Who. There'll be an episode where I don't mention it once. But
No, they won't.
no, I won't. But genuinely, when they were first making the opening titles and the music, they were worried it was too scary because they were going to put William Hartnell's face in it, and they were terrified that this face staring out through the camera directly into the kid. They thought it would terrify them. So because it was so otherworldly and it was so weird that they were terrified it was going to scare people. So I'd argue.
Add that one then. William Hartnell onto the list of horror icons.
I mean, yeah, all right, fine. I mean, dubious, but for different reasons. But Peter Cushing's a horror icon. Yeah. Both play the Doctor. There's a tenuous link. But Peter Cushing's a horror icon for different reasons. But
But more of a horror icon like Jamie Lee Curtis.
in that respect.
Because he's not necessarily the.
You see, I wouldn't
bad
call
one.
her a horror icon. I call her a screen queen. In the sense, in the descriptive sense.
yeah.
But without a good, the bad
Good
is.
versus evil. Yeah.
Yeah, you need the dichotomy for it to work. If it's all one-sided, you
Dichotomy.
I know, using big words tonight. I had a big poo before I came in. I read the dictionary for a while. No, but okay, another one. Zombies. Yeah.
Zombies, yeah. Zombies were a big one for me.
And all
growing
the
up.
different.
Yeah, permutations of what they actually are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the evolution of zombies as well in cinema. I've never found the fast sort of rage 30 days later. 30 days later?
30 days later,
No,
where was he?
28 days later.
28 days later.
You gave it a
30 days
Oh,
a
30
night.
days a night, so that's vampires, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's in 30 Days a Night? Have I seen that?
The guy
Josh
who
Hartnett.
plays Deathstroke, Crixus.
I don't think I have seen that one.
It's where they go
Is
to
it set in Alaska?
Alaska.
Canada or something?
and,
I have seen that.
and the
actually.
sun sets and it's
Yes,
set for
they
a
have
long
big,
time.
They have big periods of night, don't they? Yeah. No, I don't think I've seen that one.
But yeah, zombies, I always found the slow shuffling, literally climbing
Like
out
Bulb.
of the crypt.
from original
Yeah.
like done.
Oh yeah, that is more terrifying than modern zombie films, I think. But again, this comes to mind. It's like I find horror. I mean, not that I watch many horror films, but the horror films where you see a lot of gore, and you see the zombies ripping people apart, you see them eating flesh. I don't find that anywhere near as. I find it gross, but I don't find it anywhere near as terrifying as just watching this lifeless thing just shuffle towards you. This unrelenting.
But I think that's like the thing though, because like in Halloween, for example, when Michael kills that guy in the kitchen after they've just had sex and pins him to the doorway at night, you see the blade because as he pulls it back, and you know he's gone forward with it, and then his legs just stop twitching. So you know he's dead, but you don't know how exactly until you see it, until he pans away later on and he's got a knife straight through his chest. I think that's scary because you put your imagination
To what happens?
it's almost like a book. What you read in a book is different to what I read in a book, or what I picture in a book is different to what you picture.
You take your own thing
Yeah.
from it, don't you? Yeah. I think that's interesting, that specifically that scene as well, because although it leaves the actual murder bit sort of, you fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
There's also the bit afterwards where he just sort of stands, sort of like admiring his work. doesn't he?
Yeah.
And that in itself is like, cold-blooded and what have you.
Puppets.
Yeah, James Wan is James Wan.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of the old puppets, isn't he?
Or the old Puppet Master films, or Chucky, for example.
No,
Doll.
Chucky Doll is more of a doll than a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that clowns. It
Yeah.
Pennywise rather. But I found that clowns are an interesting one in the sense that. Okay, when I worked at Alton Towers, there were scare mazes, so like the ghost ones that I was in, things like that. There was also a clown one, but I found the clown one interesting because if you're scared of clowns, you're not going to go near the clown scare maze. You'll only go near it if you're not scared, which means the whole effect is lost on you.
You said that.
I know. Okay, speaking as someone who doesn't know, that's what I mean. I find clowns an interesting one because I don't get why. I mean, don't know, is it John Gacy?
John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy who dresses fine. That is terrifying. But generic clowns, I don't really get it.
Yeah. But he was a generic clown, but what he did outside of that,
Yeah, you weren't wearing the outfit when he did the bad things he did. I mean, it might have been.
it might have been, but he was just a clown. When we went to York Scare Maze a good few years ago, we went on it was just a little shitty ground, like a figure of eight almost ghost train. And as me and Emma aren't slim people, we had to get in separate cars because they were like literally just like a kids ghost train type thing. So I got in the last one and Emma got in the one before. John and Julie had got in the front one, and then it were Emma, then me. And what they didn't tell us is there were live actors in this ghost train, and a clown jumped on back of her cart, and she doesn't like clowns. So he come out and she shit herself straight away. Fucking clown! Ah! He just jumped on back of cart and he's going round up back at cart with her. It were hilarious.
Clowns is a weird one in the sense that if clowns are just doing clown stuff,
Have you seen Terrifier?
No.
There's a scene in that where he's in like a warehouse and there's two girls that he's kind of chasing, kidnapped, but he leaves one of them. So I don't know if one of them's twisted her ankle. He's got one tied up. One of them's twisted her ankle or broke a leg, and he's just riding around on a trike. But he's not he's like a mime clown, which makes it so much worse.
Yeah, mime clowns are a bit creepy.
But he's just riding this little bike. He's just going around in a circle on this little bike. And it's one of the most terrifying scenes because he's just happy in his little world and they're screaming. And
living his best life.
Yeah. And then he just gets off and he just goes and does whatever he does. I'm not going to say because you're not seeing it, but he does what he does next. And it's
going back to the puppets thing, though. I mean, if you look at modern horror, arguably one of the faces of modern horror is Annabelle. Yeah. And she's a puppet. And I think just to offer an alternate view is you never see Annabelle move, or certainly not of her own accord.
No,
because she's not haunted. The doll itself is not evil.
No.
It's just got an evil entity attached to it.
Yeah.
So it is haunted in one respect.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's haunted then in the traditional sense, but
I just find it weird that the original Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann.
Raggedy Ann, not Andy Band. That's very different.
that would be
Ann.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Conjuring world, ghosts, the supernatural.
It's hard to make a sort of, other than someone wearing a sheet over their head, it's hard to sort of picture and sort of go, right, that is the image of this. Because the thing with ghosts, it's the invisible man, it's the unseen, which, a bit like it not seeing Annabelle move, it's what you don't see.
It's the blanks you fill in yourself, as you've already said as well. Okay, so a very wide cross section of icons there, and some unexpected ones with William Hartnell. But which one scares you the most? Do you have, and I'm not saying necessarily just a character or whatever, but which of, is it werewolves, vampires, zombies, ghosts, whatever? Do you have one? Do you have one even? I know what it is for me. It's easy for
I
myself.
mean, everything fucking terrifies me.
Yeah, it's an easy
it's
one.
an easy one for me.
All of them.
But, okay, I suppose if we're talking specifically on films, the one that I remember shit me up the most, I would argue, for something I didn't even see it, would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I remember just the idea of Leatherface.
I remember
fucking terrifying. I mean, to this day, it's still fucking terrifying.
I remember wanting to watch the remake with you before I even moved to London, and you were like, "Nope."
No, I still won't. I
and
still
you
won't watch it.
absolutely refused, point blank.
I'm not watching. Yeah, I was all going. Oh no, I'm gonna watch something anyway. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one I stand firm on. I do not.
Have you
want
not ever seen any of them?
I saw a bit of the original, and it creeped me the fuck out. And I didn't even get that far into it. I think I got as far as the dinner scene. So which is not. I mean, that's horrible.
It's the worst bit.
I mean, yeah, that's fucking horrible. I didn't get any further than that. I mean, in one respect, it's a great film, saying how low the budget is and just what they managed to do.
It's one of the best. Texas
But it just creeps me the fuck out, and I just won't.
There's so much about it. It's not just. I mean, Leatherface really. Okay, he wields a chainsaw and whatnot, but he's one of the. Okay, sounds really weird to put it this way. He's one of the nicer members of the family.
Yeah.
He's clearly got, like, obviously severe mental health problems and whatnot, but there's innocence there, isn't there?
I think
childlike innocence.
The fact that it's based off, and I don't mean that exactly happened.
Yeah.
It's based in truth with Ed Gein. That's how it's. I just think that makes it all the more creepy.
Well, that's another thing. I was like, okay, it's maybe something that we can discuss in further detail another time. But the whole truth versus made up, and how far the liberties that sort of modern directors will take with the truth or whatever. But yeah. So
I think for me, the things that scare me the most are the things that you can put a rational explanation to. So, not necessarily possession, but demonic forces, ghosts, that sort of thing, where something falls over and you go, oh, wind, whatever. But then something floats.
yeah,
And you
there's
go,
something that happens. Like, actually, there's no way.
Yeah. But I think if I were to put a face to the scariest one for me, it's Michael, because in every sequel that they made, they always explained how he's just a person, and something's happened, like he's been brought back to health by a witch doctor, or they've always explained away how he wasn't killed at the end of the last film. Whereas with Jason or Freddy, they defeat him and he still comes back.
It just is, yeah.
Yeah, and you're supposed to accept that. Whereas Michael, it's a logical explanation. It wasn't him or
relatively.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Initially.
Initially, it's a relative. Like, I mean, obviously, there's the big one where he gets exploded, shot, stabbed, and everything all in one go and all that. But they explain it away. He falls down the thing and he goes into the river, and the witch doctor catches him and brings him back to life.
Yeah. And then there's getting his head chopped off, except it weren't him.
It weren't him. That's the end of.
I'd say is, I suppose, an interesting point. And do you think it's a longevity of a character, the ability to come back time after time that makes them scary?
I don't think it makes them less scary the more they come back. In that respect of kind of, oh, he's back. Oh, here he is, back again. Must be Tuesday.
As you knew it would be.
Yeah.
That type of thing. I'm not saying it is, because again...
I must say Michael Myers was one of them for me, but only Halloween 1 and 2. From Halloween 1 and 2 onwards, they were just fun films to watch.
Yeah.
There were no fear. But yeah, very much like yours, for me, it would be ghosts and demons and what have you, specifically demonic.
I don't mean exorcist, demonic possession, that sort of thing.
I wouldn't use possession's almost like the thing that, I don't know, once you get to that point, it's like, it's all art. You know what you're facing at that point. No, it's the and Ed Warren in his book explains it, and obviously they get Patrick Wilson to do that part in the film as well, where they talk about the stages of. It starts off with, is it infestation? Something and then possession into it. Yeah, I can't actually remember, but that for me, the supernatural, and I can absolutely put a face to it as well, because it's one of the first horror films I watched probably. Psycho was the first, but obviously that's not supernatural. first supernatural film I watched. For some reason, my mum and dad thought it'd be a good idea at the tender-old age of 6 or 7 to let us watch Woman in Black,
Yeah.
the original 1989 one. And that's one that sort of prevails to this day as well. That there's always an element of, it's just the old woman in a dress thing, sort of
But that's
standing
also
silently in the corner of the room.
It's
It's
fucking terrifying.
far more
Just,
terrifying.
like, it's also
than-
the sleep paralysis thing, because that's usually generally
and
the
that's
old
something
hag.
Joe had. Joe had that for years, and his sleep paralysis demon was some raggedy old bitch stood in corner of the room.
It's the one episode of Buffy Haley won't watch. It's on the sleep paralysis team. It's the one episode she won't watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
must be horrendous, that sleep paralysis thing. It
To
must
be fair, the one in Buffy, it's like it got a trilby or something,
Yeah.
and it actually hangs from the ceiling and comes down and pinches. It's been ages to watch that
It's-
episode. It's not particularly pleasant.
I say you're not allowed to.
Oh yeah.
It's very similar to like the Babadook type,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. I did think of another one, A Fly, for the
Really? The
Cronenberg.
what?
Is it Cronenberg, isn't it? The Fly.
Yeah.
What?
It's Cronenberg, The Fly, with Jeff Goldblum.
What's Cronenberg?
Cronenberg's the director.
Sorry, director.
Not the cider.
It's lager.
Oh, that's Cronenberg I'm thinking of, isn't it?
Pint of the numbers. Pint of the numbers.
Wag
Yeah,
you say that.
I remember when we had our
I just thought that was a hilarious film.
when we had our caravan. I mean, I would have been, because we first caravan we had, so I'd have been 5. My uncle were watching it, and obviously at 5-year-old it shit me up because when he starts to morph into the Fly.
It throws up
I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
Cronenberg is body horror, so
yeah,
you know.
yeah. But yeah, that did at the time. Then, I mean, I watched them since, and they're not funny. You know, they're not scary. They are funny, but
Going back to what you said, but one of the scariest horror films, you know, and there's no supernatural elements in it. There's no like big demon. There's no big evil in that respect. It's the original Wicker Man. It's an isolated
It's a very scary
community,
film.
and that's
'Cause it's the,
terrifying.
I think it's the simplicity that makes it scary as well, and you obviously your story's told completely through the eyes of an outsider.
the documentary on Shudder at the minute,
Right.
all about folk tales and
right.
horror, folk horror, and
I shall have to watch this.
it's nearly 3 hours long, I think. But it's I've watched about half of it so far, and it explains all the old stuff like Wicker Man.
The night you brought us cheese and biscuits, we watched the new Wicker Man.
Yeah.
I say the new one, the newest version, and that's a great film as well.
But
Not
the Nicolas Cage one.
not for the same reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I
But,
get.
you know, the winning feeling having finished that film though is how much I wanted to go back and watch the original.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much better. The fact that they're all there singing on the hillside as he's burning to death, it's just like, that's terrifying. Whereas they're a proper cult in the new one. It's like they're purposefully evil,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you lose that.
It loses the menace by doing it that
It
way.
does. It's like, oh, they're evil, so
It's the fact.
of course they burn people. Whereas in this one, it's like, no, it's part of their way of life.
It's funny that in the original, the end credits, Scott, you could still see the Wicker Man burning as the credits are rolling.
right.
You go, okay, we're ending here, are we? Okay.
He's not getting out.
No, it's
and
not.
of course, Christopher Lee. We're talking about a horror icon.
You can't not mention Christopher Lee in any respect. Christopher Lee has to be in that conversation.
And obviously not just as Dracula, but I think.
He's played Frankenstein. He's played the
But
Mummy.
am I right in thinking that he was the inspiration for James Bond? Did I read that?
That
correct?
is correct.
Yeah.
He
Ian
knew
Fleming.
He knew Ian
because he was his
Fleming.
cousin, weren't he? Is he a cousin?
I don't know. I don't know the relationship. Something. Or he married his cousin. Up.
Ah,
We
might
didn't
have
marry
been,
his
yeah.
cousin. He married.
He married Ian Fleming's
Fleming's
cousin. Yeah.
I mean, don't wrong, Christopher Lee. I
Who
would
did
not-
Ian Fleming marry?
I don't know. Christopher Lee, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Christopher Lee was. He was who he was based on. A terrifying story of Christopher Lee as well. On the set of Lord of the Rings, spoiler alert, but he's like 20 years old now. But when Wormtail stabs Christopher Lee in the back, when
Wormtongue.
yes, Wormtail's the one. Who's Wormtail? What's Wormtail from?
Harry Potter.
Thank you. Yes, very small was not in Lord of the Rings. One of the few British actors that wasn't, to be fair.
Yeah.
So when Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back, when Christopher Lee was being directed by Peter Jackson, he went, also no, I can make a big exhale. And then Christopher Lee went up to Peter Jackson and went, oh no. When you stab someone in the back, they don't exhale, they breathe in. He goes, how do you know that? I just do. He went, okay, let's just take Christopher's word for this and move on.
You do you.
Yeah, so Christopher Lee was a amazing but terrifying individual because he did for a long time the Ghost Story at Christmas on BBC. He was the narrator for it, and recently, I mean, like this Christmas just gone, they've released the Audible compendium of him just narrating these ghost
Wow,
stories,
okay.
and I'm so tempted to get them
Oh, that's
because he's got such a good. I mean, don't get me wrong, his Charlemagne albums aren't great,
Yeah.
but the fact is Christopher Lee makes them still pretty
makes
good.
them better.
It makes them better, but
Yeah.
yeah, Christopher Lee is just amazing.
They are bad
Amazing.
metal albums, but they are great
Christopher Lee albums. Was it Man of War he did them with? Man of War he did them with,
I have no idea. I don't know.
or at least some of Man of War.
The ones that aren't in prison.
So one of Man of War. No,
Man.
man. Is it man? Are you Man or War?
He played a Sith Lord, did old Christopher Lee.
He did. He was Dooku.
Count Dooku, but while we're on the subject, and it's what made me think of it, is along the same lines as the Daleks, and it's Darth Vader. Darth Vader
Oh, Christ, yeah.
was a horror icon. I suppose you could call him a horror icon. Scared a lot. No, I mean not with his original accent, not with David Crowder's
No, David
accent.
Crowder. You're a traitor with the Rimmel Lights. No,
But-
it's great.
Again, for me, that one, that's much scarier when you don't know what's behind that. Once you find out, I think behind when he's in the mask, I think it's a much scarier thought. Because it's you kind of put, well, why does he wear? Why is he?
Yeah.
What is he robot? Is he not? Is he?
I mean, to some extent, and we've said before you see it, Phantom of the Opera. You mean, you're not the
Yeah.
I said not the Michael Lloyd Webber. Who the hell's Michael?
Andrew.
The Angelo Lloyd Webber musical, but before that,
Film.
like the Lon Chaney film.
The Lon Chaney one was dreadful.
But
The reveal
Yeah.
was so funny. It's so funny. It's
no,
just
but
like,
it wasn't. It was terrifying at the
At
time.
the
We're
time,
looking at it
yeah,
through
yeah.
modern sensibilities. At the time, it was
I remember
terrifying.
watching a documentary recently, and it talked about like the villain. It was what's he called, that critic who you don't like with the glasses and the coat.
Mark Commode.
Mark.
Mark Toilers is like.
Yeah. The documentary was actually really entertaining.
He's a very knowledgeable man, to be fair.
And he shown footage from that Phantom of the Opera, and the reveal when it's like, yeah, I know we're looking at it through modern eyes, but I burst out laughing when I saw that. When he takes the mask off and he goes to the cat.
If you want the funniest moment, an accidentally funny moment in a Phantom of the Opera, there's a version with Charles Dance, and you never actually see his face in that version. I think it's quite interesting. But Charles Dance, his Phantom, shows his face to Christine, and she faints, and he gets all the strop on, so he marches off. And for some bizarre reason, he's got all these plastic animals in his lair. Just goes past Caesar's deer and just twats it in the face as he walks past. He's just walking past, and suddenly goes bonk, and it makes the most satisfying hollow plastic noise. Just bonk as he walks past. It's brilliant. If I can find
The
the clip.
idea of Charles Dance getting the strop on.
That was brilliant. I've got to
Punching
find.
a reindeer.
I've got to find the clip. He just walks up and just goes bonk.
Yeah, I've got to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so your horror icons have obviously developed over years, as we've mentioned already, with the change to zombies and what have you. Do you think the muted sort of older sensibilities, you're looking at it, as we've said already, through modern eyes and what have you, but looking back to your older horror icons, would you say then, for example, that that Christopher Lee's Dracula, as cheesy and hammy as as cheesy as they were in places, is his Dracula scarier than Gary Oldman's Dracula?
Yes, because Gary Oldman's Dracula is fucking hilarious.
There's some hilarious bit, and we're not talking about Keanu Reeves, we're talking about Gary Oldman.
No way. he just walks off set from Bill and Ted and just put a different costume on, and No, I genuinely no. Christopher Lee, I find Christopher Lee's Dracula and all those are much more terrible because they're much. I think it's because they are a much more reserved performance, and I'm not digging Gary Oldman at all because Gary Oldman is a fantastic actor, but his Dracula was quite because it was more of the romantic Dracula that
so it's
version.
like a
To be fair,
romance,
it was focused on the romance side rather than the horror side rather. So I would argue that Christopher Lee's.
I weren't concentrating specifically on them, but your older depictions of sort of stock horror characters versus your modern day ones.
The new BBC Dracula, I thought he was really good.
Klaus
Bang, great name, Klaus
Bang.
Bang.
Yeah, I thought he was really good.
The first two episodes were good. I was disappointed
Yeah.
with the third episode. If they'd ended the second episode, that was it. That was the end.
Yeah.
That'd been brilliant. They didn't need the third episode.
No.
That ruined it. I
To
thought.
bring it like to modern day.
Yeah, if it had ended with him getting on the beach, you go, "Oh no, you're in modern day Whitby." He goes, "Oh, okay, that'd have been a fun
Yeah.
end." But then to sort of rehash the Dracula story in modern
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
didn't really work.
But I
didn't
think like when you say Dracula, you see Christopher Lee, you see his eyes.
you see Christopher Lee, or you see Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
That's who you see.
I think even Bela Lugosi is a patch on Christopher Lee though.
best Dracula. Leslie Nielsen, Dracula then loving it. Best version of Dracula. Children of the Night. What a mess they make. I don't know why he's Italian when I do it.
What a mess they make.
What a mess they make.
All right, if we're going to go on random tangents, best Dracula, Adam Sandler in Hotel Transylvania.
I've not seen it, to be fair. I haven't.
Although it's not him, it's just his voice.
I think the best Dracula is the one in Blade 3. So.
That's the guy from Prison Break, isn't it? In Blade 3.
Yeah, the guy who looks like Squidward when he gets turned into handsome Squidward. I'm going to show you a picture of this because you're looking a bit confused. I'm going to show you.
No, do you know who he looks like? He looks like, hey, get me Dave Bautista. We can't afford Dave Bautista. Okay, get his cheap Italian cousin. Right, that'll do.
yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Again, I know I've told the story before. My favourite Blade 3 story is still when at the end when he snouts refused to open his eyes, so they CG.
I've seen that recently.
It's awful, isn't it? It's so bad. It's so bad.
But modern versus old, like I mean, you got to sort of pick a point at when something stops being old and starts being modern. But looking at obviously the original Night of the Living Dead, talking about those zombies.
Yeah.
Although, being the big horror fans that they are, there was a moment in Shaun of the Dead, which I thought was a wonderful callback to those original zombie films, when he's going down the street and he sees the body bag moving.
Yeah.
Just on its own, out of context.
Oh, it's
That's
very
creepy.
well studied. Very well studied, Shaun of the Dead.
Isn't not Bub, but isn't Bub in Shaun of the Dead as well?
I understand. So,
in some, you know, the one that they put the headphones on.
Oh yeah.
He's in Shaun of the Dead somewhere. It's not necessarily that actor, because I don't know if he'd still be living at this
It's
point.
Day of the Dead, which was late 80s, so it
Could be.
Although,
but yeah, he's supposed to be in it.
I know that at least Simon Pegg and I think Edgar Wright were in the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
They are. There's there's literally one bit blink and you miss them, but you can see them pegging it down. When one of the times they're in the mall and they see him pegging it down, that you can see Simon Pegg at least.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to think of the other ones, like sort of werewolves as a comparison. You've got
Benicio del Toro's Wolfman's pretty good.
I've not seen that. I've wanted to see.
That's good until Anthony
Yeah.
Hopkins turns into a werewolf as well, and
So
that's
he
just Anthony Hopkins.
I can't imagine a Welsh werewolf. That'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Oh, pet. The pet. That's Jordan.
Have you seen that video of him headbanging to Destruction?
Oh, I've seen it. He's superimposed loads of different music. I've seen it. Was it Destruction originally?
No, it was classical music originally, which makes it, if anything, more terrifying. Okay, so look at the serial killer. Look at Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins?
What you think of Hannibal?
Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal.
No, I've said Anthony Hopkins
Anthony
already.
Perkins.
Anthony Perkins. I'm on about Norman Bates
Oh.
as a serial killer versus, because I find your modern day real serial killer films tend to be thrillers rather than horrors.
They are.
Yeah.
With the exception of something like Saw, but then that's not so much about the serial killer, but what he.
That's about the,
how
that's about
he-
the
how
traps.
he
It's
does
about
it,
the
yeah.
killings, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many killings in this film? You know, all that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think the Saw films are good. Actually, we watched that Spiral the other day.
I need to watch that.
It's quite good.
See, I don't think
I'm not sure if Chris Rock can carry off a...
It's Chris Rock and is it Samuel L. Jackson in it as well?
Samuel L. Jackson. His acting's a bit.
Yeah.
But again,
Questionable.
that goes from horror to Gorno for me, and I'm just not a fan of Gornos at all.
I think...
Is it because they creep you out though? Is it because
I just don't like overly graphic stuff for the sake of it. Like Swords going, oh yeah, you're going to see his skin being peeled from his back, and you can see his fingernails
Hostel
ripped.
being there?
Yeah, I just
think-
won't do it. Not even entertaining it. I just won't do it.
I think once you know the story of Saw and why he's doing what he's doing,
Oh, then the
then
concept.
I think that is Hostel.
I always thought Saw were never as bad as it made
No.
it out to be. I think Hostel.
There are some bits in
Yeah,
Saw.
obviously. Yeah, I thought Hostel were a really interesting one because it was the first of its kind to be doing something
Yeah,
so.
but it does that type of film just completely turns it off, and I just won't even entertain it.
But I'm interested just to know why though. Is it? Do you think it's? Do you dislike it because you think it's shit, or do you dislike
It's
it?
gratuitous violence, and it's
Does that put you off in the? I think it's awful, or does it put you off in that really creeps me out? That's really horrendous to look at. I don't want to see that.
I think both.
Both.
I genuinely think both. Like, I like some violent films, but it's the context in which it's presented in. You know, okay, I know it's dated now. But like Alien, when it bursts out of his stomach, for its time, that was
And it is
fucking
very
horrible.
much within the context.
It's
of
within the
story.
context, yeah, and it makes sense because it is a hook.
Mind you, all of the deaths in Hostel are within the context of the story.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So just in those type of films for me, it's gratuitous. Like in Saw, one that there's a bear trap and that rips someone's jaw off and stuff. Like it's just like that's for me. That's too much.
I disagree with the Saw films because I think again they're very.
I find the concept of why
Yeah.
it's happening and why he's doing it. I do find that interesting, but it's just the actual films
I
themselves.
find it
just
more
don't-
disgusting in a slapstick sense. Like the Hostel films, I always enjoyed because it could literally be you're the fly on the wall. You could literally be observing a genuine sort of place where rich people pay to torture other humans. It's not stylized in any way whatsoever. You could be watching documentary
I always said,
footage.
some.
But then,
some
such
way-
as films like, have you
doing
ever seen what's the Peter Jackson film? There's
Bad Taste.
Bad Taste. Have you seen Bad Taste?
I don't think I have.
That's
actually.
disgusting
Yeah.
to me.
Well, again, with a name like Bad Taste, what do you expect?
No, but I can watch any number of Hostels and Saws and what have you, and not be creeped out. But that, and it's done in a completely slapstick way. I find it grim and upsetting. I feel like it's the low budget.
Society.
No,
That's along a similar sort of vein to Bad Taste, but not as funny.
Bad Taste is a
I don't
horrendous.
think I
one.
have. I've just seen Bad Taste. To be fair,
At what point with this?
DVD cover of it?
Yeah. At some point, I think the aliens start vomiting into like bowls and then eating. It's like, it's not good. Like Peter Jackson's character falls off a cliff right at the start, and bashes his brains out on a rock, and he's literally there picking up chunks of brain and sticking them back on his head, and then he puts his head back on and ties it on with a belt. It's messed up in a funny way, but it's zombies as well, isn't it? It's not just aliens. And he's got like zombie sex happening, and then the zombie woman gives birth to a zombie baby, and it's all
yeah, that just sounds horrible. That just
it's,
sounds
it's
horrible.
horrendous.
That sounds horrible.
That for me is like is the non-enjoyable side of it, because
Okay.
it feels like that's gratuitous, whereas although like Hostel is, it's very much part of the story still. Do you know what I mean?
I think I get what you're
what can
saying.
we do next to be gross in the other one? Whereas Hostel.
But I find that like you saw films, right? Okay, we did that.
have you seen Hostel then?
No, because the premise and
So-
things just don't.
yeah,
interest.
so-
But I was saying, like, so the Saw films, every time they're escalated to make the traps more graphic, to make them more disgusting. Every time.
I agree with that. I think there's probably two or three too many sequels for Saw, but certainly Hostel 1. I think there's only 3 Hostels in there.
I don't know.
I thought there were only
Certainly
two.
Hostel 1. It's not completely out of the realms of possibility for a rich elite sort of group of people to be paying for people to torture. It's not out of the realms of possibility, is
So
it?
the fact that it's more believable makes it more enjoyable for you. Is that what you're saying?
It makes the violence more acceptable, the gratuitousness of it more acceptable, because it's contextual.
See, but that argument for me is being so because the context is this could actually happen. You don't find that to me that fact seems like quite an odd argument.
Well, no, because it's more believable, I'm more willing to sit and watch the nasty, gratuitous. violence.
Maybe different to stick because I don't find either of those things. Like,
No, but I mean, to use the Bad Taste one as the comparison, that's let's see what we can do to gross out as audience next. But Hostel's not like that.
But in my head, I'm not saying it is, but in my head, that's how I'm seeing those films. It's what can we do to gross out?
the
What can we do
story, if nothing else, the story of Hostel makes sense.
Okay.
Unlike Bad Taste, where nothing makes sense, and Peter Jackson knew that because he was off his head more than likely. But
Well, it was Kiwis,
well, yeah, there we go.
They're all upside down. Unless you're listening to New Zealand, then you're the right way up and way upside down, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
Gravity.
yeah. It's a
Science!
weird thing. Okay, so we've done who you find scary and gone on many tangents as we normally do. So as a way of sort of wrapping up, then who do you think? If I say the words to you, horror icon, who is that?
I'll get what you're saying, character or actor.
Let's have both.
But I say they're two different answers, and the answer for actor we've already had. It's Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, yeah.
He is the god of acting because the Hammer horrors are still terrifying to this day. I don't know what it is. It's the, sort of is it the grainy 60s, 70s
I always find that
film?
more scary.
Yeah, it feels more like.
And although it is cheesy in places, it's still.
But I don't know if it's because of the quality of the film comparatively to now's modern films, but because it's slightly grainy and slightly worn and slightly you can tell it was a relatively cheap film. It feels like it's something you shouldn't be watching. It's something that you've found
Almost like a snuff film.
Almost. No, in one respect, yeah, almost. So I think, for actor-wise, it'd be Christopher Lee is the king of. He is the god of horror. I think, actor.
I think for the actor, because of the way he plays one character in specifically, Anthony Hopkins, because Hannibal Lecter, the way he plays Hannibal Lecter, when in Silence of the Lambs, he barely does anything.
He's on screen for like 20 minutes, I think. He's barely in the film.
He barely does anything. But the scene in particular, when he's in that big room and he's in that cage and he beats that cop, the menace in his eyes and his face is fucking... And to play it that way, I think for me, Anthony Hopkins on that one. And I think
It's the well-spoken psychopath thing, isn't it? It's a nice.
It's a juxtaposition of the two elements.
Because he doesn't. You get the impression that he's a horrible dude when she first meets him. She doesn't really want to go meet him. She's and yet he's just a normal guy. He's got books. He's got classical music. You know what I mean? He's well read and all that sort of stuff. But I think the character. I know you'll do your.
Yeah, do your acting.
My icon is neither. He's not an actor. He's a director, and that's James Wan. Okay. Simply because my love of not my love of horror, but my current love of it. I would always argue that like my passion for horror is greater now than it was when I was younger, and he's a big part of that for Insidious, for the Saw films, for
Insidious is great.
And obviously for the Conjuring universe. So.
I've been thinking about this while we're going around. I think, for me, icon character-wise is Frankenstein's monster. Now, hear me out on this one. When we say Frankenstein's monster, simply because it's what it means as a bit. It's a body horror type thing. You could be, this could be you. You could be forced to be transformed into this hulking mass. You could lose your personality and become this. So again, I suppose it comes under zombies a little bit as well and things like that. But it's something. Now I'm thinking about it. I think Frankenstein's monster is kind of like the quintessential horror.
I like the way that De Niro plays it in Mary Shelley.
Yeah, and it's quite.
I like the way he plays it, but I think the film is so. The script is. It's like on Phantom Menace levels of cheesy. The script.
Yeah, I don't think the film itself is good, but the way he plays it is very.
Didn't he cheat on his wife with Helena Bonham Carter during the filming of that? Kenneth Branagh.
I don't know. I'm not.
And his wife,
I know who's with Helena
his
Bonham
wife
Carter
at the time being Emma Thompson.
Christ.
And he cheated on her with.
Jeez, we see what happens to people who cheat on Emma Thompson. Yeah.
And weirdly, they're all performers in Harry Potter as well. Emma Thompson,
Helena Bonham Carter,
Kenneth Branagh.
Robert De Niro, is it though?
And in Love Actually, when Emma Thompson's husband is going to cheat on her with the office floozy, the husband is also in Harry Potter.
Yes, but the floozy isn't though, is she?
She might be, I don't know. Anyway,
it's a tangent.
Sorry.
I think my character.
I was interested to see which way you'd fall on this one. It's a tough one.
It's a hard one for him, especially. I think
I would.
I can see.
I would say Michael, but I think the fact that it's a mask stops it.
Okay.
Because other than like you said, there's elements like when he I think his name's Bob, when he kills him against the door and he like looks and there's no emotion. You can't see what.
And they went for something purposely
emotionless,
didn't they?
They did. But
how they settled on Captain Kirk, I don't know. But
William Shatner was pretty much.
Yeah. Well, in 1978 or 77 or whatever, Star Trek was massive. But I think I don't have to look very far.
Yeah, it's your Freddy shoes. Yeah.
You do know that they didn't actually burn Robert Englund for that. It was actually
a mask, but you can see all his emotions underneath it.
I joke.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so Freddie for you then.
Okay.
Okay. Again, like you, I would say, because it's always the ghosts for me, I'd say something along the lines of The Woman in Black in whatever version of that we're seeing. The one that scared me most was the book version because I saw it my own way.
Yeah. Is that the first version? Did you obviously no? You saw the. Which one did you see? Did you read the book?
I saw
first or
the
see-
'89 film
Yeah.
first, and then I read the book, and then I saw the stage play, and then I saw the Daniel Radcliffe. Then saw the stage play again, and then Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death.
I've still not seen that one.
Yeah, it's good. It's
It's
good.
the only horror film I've seen at the cinema.
Yeah,
You-
you're very brave.
You bribed me with Slipknot tickets, so I can't.
Did I?
Yeah. We're going to go see a film. We're going to go see Slipknot afterwards. Oh, okay. The film's Woman in Black. What? So you bribed me with Slipknot ticket. You bribed me with Slipknot tickets and cocktails. We went to smoke as well. We were drinking cocktails all day.
Smoke.
So you bribed me by to come and see a horror film with him.
Yeah, so Woman in Black as a potential again, and not just because of that specific character of Alice Drabler. Is it Alice Drabler? No, Jeanette Humphrey. Not specifically her character, maybe the everything she represents, being the old lady, it's creepy and what have you. Demons, not so much, but I'd say maybe The Grudge, the girl in The Grudge. I think it's been done to death. You know, white dress, long black hair.
The Ring, yeah.
You know,
Samara
it's been
from The
done
Ring.
to absolute death. But for whatever reason, watching that film, because obviously the first American, the new Grudge, by the way, don't watch it. It's dreadful.
Oh, right.
Oh, it is awful.
I want to watch the series on Netflix, Origins.
Yeah,
That was
it is dreadful.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first, either the original Japanese or the first remake, the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar,
I just thought of a film.
scary,
Yeah.
really scary, and to this day would scare me. That's the last time I lost sleep over a film was The Grudge, and I should imagine that if I was to watch it now, I'd lose sleep tonight, even though it's been done to death. It's a weird one. So yeah, something like that for me.
Has anybody seen The Unborn?
Yes,
No.
the Unborns. It's probably not one for James to be watching right now.
Freaked me the fuck out, that did. I mean, I went to watch it at cinema.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I took one at the first day. Me and Becky went on. We went to see Marley and Me, so she were in tears
Oh, well done.
with bloody mascara running down her face. And the second film we went to see, we were Unborn. I always thought it was really funny, but the little kid who plays the Jumbie Wants to Be Born Now kid is also the little kid who's in the middle.
Yeah.
And he says stuff and then he repeats it in a whisper for some reason. That's just like one of his character quirks. He says something like, my friend wants to go for a McDonald's today. Wants to go for a McDonald's today, and whispers it. Yeah. And then, because he's the same kid in the film, I said it to Becky and watch. It's like, Jumbie wants to be born now, with a big knife in his hand. Jumbie wants to be born. I guess you have to see it.
I've not seen the middle or so both these references are lost on me.
Yeah.
It's brick, isn't it, from middle?
Yeah. That's a good film, that. That's a really good film, because, again, the way that film finishes is grim. It don't finish like a big horror reveal. You're not going to watch it, right?
No.
We'll tell you about it then. So the idea being, it's about the twin dying in the womb, but then haunting them thereafter.
Fucking hell.
And she's sort of investigating this story, and it's got like it stretches back to like Auschwitz with Dr. Mengele testing on twins and being
All the
obsessed
fun things in the film.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then the film finishes with her finding out she's pregnant, and they're scanning her stomach, and one of them's got like really evil eyes. It's not nice, actually.
It's not, no.
It's a good film, actually, that one.
I will not be watching this. Especially at the moment. I will
You
not be
say
watching
you won't,
this.
but seeing as we've both mentioned it, you said something earlier. You said something about potentially filming you watching.
Yeah, but we've got to get to a better level on the podcast first. I've said I'm not doing this for free. I'm not doing this.
Although, I've recently watched Sinister, and I think he's a good
Yeah, Bagul,
Bagul.
because he's a modern take on the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
It's essentially what he is.
I think the ideas of horror films interest me, which is why, even though I don't want to watch them, I'm always kind of going, well, okay, like, I've seen a lot of the Freddys, and I've seen a lot of the Jasons, and I've seen some of the Halloween. I still need to finish watching the more recent Halloweens, actually. So it's got kind of stuff. I started watching Halloween 2018. I was enjoying it, but I was watching it at work, so it wasn't really the most appropriate place to watch it at work. Not even though I work very hard, you know.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
We all do. So that's why I think I do still watch them, even though I don't like them as such. But yeah, what you're suggesting, when we get to a better level on the podcast, and we can have money for these
Unborn,
things.
that's the one then.
Unborn.
Okay.
Watch this space.
Well, again, it'll be a few years down the line, I think. So yeah, well, all right.
Or
Then.
Sinister.
Oh, Sinister, yeah.
You've been
if
talking
you've
about
not
maybe
seen
watch Sinister for a while.
Sinister is a good one, actually, yeah. It's just,
To be fair, I've just read that have you seen Lights Out?
yes,
They're making a second one.
that was a good one. We were living at Newlands when...
And then Lights Out into. Sorry, I'll let you finish. But Lights Out was interesting.
it's a good one because we watched that one and then we finished it and Becky was like, I really need a wee but I don't want to go upstairs. I said, it's alright, I just put lights on. What she'd not figured out is that the landing lights could be controlled at the top of the stairs and at the bottom. So there's a minute she got to the top landing, she swore.
I like the idea of Lights Out because it's actually written by, I think it's a film I'm thinking of, so I apologise if it's not, but it was written by someone who was dealing with the death of a friend.
Okay.
And it was basically how they envisioned their depression. As kind of externalising it and
I
taking
think
it
that's
to
what I really like about Babadook, though, is that the monster actually isn't real in Babadook. It's all about controlling your inner demons. It's an inner demon for her because she's lost her husband and she kind of blames the kid. And it's scarier than anything, really, because it's
There's
mental health. It's your own mind.
Yeah. There's a bit in just one quick thing from me. Like, there's two films that I think do non-typical jump scare really well. One is Insidious, when it's in broad daylight. They build the music to the jump scare, and it's nothing. And then behind Patrick Wilson again, isn't it?
No, it's behind Patrick Wilson's mom.
Just the red face.
It's the guy who's dressed like Finn Balor.
Yeah, but
Darth Maul.
but it's in broad daylight.
Yeah.
There's no build up.
Yeah, you think you're
It's
safe.
gone.
Yeah,
and it's there. And then in Woman in Black, when he looks out the window and she appears in the window next to him, that was another one. I went, fucking wow, because I didn't expect it. Even though I think the music's building to something.
Is it in one of the Conjurings when they're out? Yeah, it's the first Conjuring when they're out in the yard and there's a washing. And the sheet drops, and it just vaguely, for about half a second,
Just falls
it falls
into
into shape and then carries
That's
on.
what I like. I mean, I think they got silly as well, the Paranormal Activity films. But there's
They
one
can't be
moment
bad
in
because even I've sat through them and gone, eh.
There's one bit in them though which is pretty good where there's an earthquake and like a load of dust falls down from ceiling.
Oh, yeah,
and you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
see anything until whatever it is moves. So this dust settles and you think it's just settled on floor because of perspective, and then all of a sudden it just drops to the floor and something steps through the thing. One of the scariest films I've ever seen is Paranormal Entity.
I've not seen them.
Don't.
Oh,
They are.
they're horrible.
You wouldn't do well. I didn't do well. But we'll say no more on that matter.
I've seen that one or not.
Really good. But yeah, do you reckon that covers it all relatively
I think
nicely,
we've extended. I think
we've obviously got a lot more to discuss on the horror point because we've touched very briefly on such as like Jamie Lee Curtis and Scream Queens and
Jump scare tension.
jump
What's
scare.
better?
I think we need to
there's
look
a lot
at
of-
sort of classic versus modern a lot more detail. But for now, I think that covers Icons rather nicely. So all we have left to say is you've been great. We've been Gabby Knight. Good night.